Hello, I'm Eloise Meredith, and today I'm going to show you how to make a fish lantern. This is the guy that we're going to end up with, something along this line. It has a frame in it, and a covering, and a light inside at the end. To build a fish lantern, you're going to need bamboo for the frame, tape to tape the frame together, paper to glue over the frame, and glue to glue the paper onto the frame. Helpful to have a container with a lid so that you can put your glue away, take a break, come back in a little bit. When your fish is all together, there are 2 tea lights that you put inside to light it up. So, on with making the frame of the fish. So we're going to be creating a structure like this, and the frame has different parts to it, actually 4 parts to it. There are 3 circles. They're actually the trickiest part of building this frame. So that's one part, is these circles. Second part is 2 long strips of bamboo that go all the way from the nose of the fish across these 3 circles, cross here, and then go out to make the tail. So that's step 2, holding everything together, making the tail. Step 3 is fleshing out the body of the fish, adding strips of bamboo that go from the base of the tail all the way to the nose. So here's examples of 2 strips that have gone from the base of the tail all the way to the nose. Makes things stronger, fleshes out the fish. So that was step 3. The final step is where you add details. And here, there's a lot of flexibility to what you can do here. You can add fins. Here's a fin that's been added at the top. You can add fins on the side. There's a number of things you can do, but there are little extras you add in at this point. So that's step 4, and that completes making the frame of the fish. Now, as I say, making these circles, that is the most difficult part of the whole process. You start with a thin piece of bamboo. It helps to soak the bamboo, makes it more pliable. The challenge is to bend it in a circle without breaking it. I'm halfway there. Oh. Starting all over again. So this is the most difficult part. As I say, there are some tricks. It helps to soak the bamboo, makes it a little more pliable. Here's an example of a ring that has been completed, a circle that's being completed, has a cross in the middle of it to strengthen it, and that is used for the middle circle in the fish. I, however, am going to cheat. At the dollar store, there's your handy-dandy tomato trellis. And notice, it has these wonderful circles. After a number of catastrophes like this is a thing of beauty. Okay, so these are perfectly round and solid, and they don't need any further support, actually. So you can go straight into attaching these to your long pieces of bamboo that are going to make the tail and the head. If you use your imagination, you can almost imagine it being a fish at this point. It's still in the dreamland. There. Now we do the bottom. And it's so wonderful that they're so round. And they're they're not going to break as you're working with them. Gets much easier after you've got past this stage of holding everything together. And then we're going to put the nose together. Actually, I'm going to make things easier on myself, and I'm going to start the tape on one strand, then pinch it together and wrap it all together. Like so. There's the nose and the tail. Okay, again, I'm going to wrap it around at a time. Bend it. We're crossing to make a tail at this point. There. And this is where it starts to look like a fish. There. Just a little bit behind the nose so it gives me a little bit more flexibility. There we are. Okay. And then strap it in. So here's one piece. Then we add another piece on the other side. And it's really starting to look like a fish. So these pieces aren't quite long enough to reach the base of the tail. There are two things I could do at this point. I could undo the tail and move this forward, or what I'm doing here is I'm making tape to hold these pieces in just a little bit above the base of the tail. There's a second option here. You can undo and change what you've done in the past before. You can take that tape off and redo your first step. So this process is a little bit forgiving. There are options to work with it. There we go. The fourth, final stage is to add details such as a fin or other fins down here. You can change and add a little extra on his snout if you wish. You have to decide whether it's going to be more like a dolphin, have the tail go this way, or whether the tail's going to go this way. You have choices at this point to add detail to the structure of your fish. So here we have the structure. Our next stage is to put, the paper on the structure. We have the structure. Now we're going to paper it. Okay, so now it's time for the skin. We have the frame of our fish, and now we're going to be adding the skin of tissue paper all over. So the trick here is, first of all, the right consistency of glue, and then to remember that you're doing a coat of glue on the frame, tissue paper on there, coat of glue on the tissue paper, another layer of tissue paper, and then a final coat of glue. That will all dry clear, and it gives a nice strong base to decorate your fish at the final stage. So what we're doing here, putting the skin on the fish, involves, first of all, getting the right consistency of glue. So you're taking white glue, diluting it with water, until you get a nice sort of creamy yogurt texture, consistency. So it runs about like so. Not too thick, not too thin. Put it in a container with a lid so then you can do a bit, put the lid on, come back, do another bit. So, first off, putting the first layer of skin on, we put glue on the frame. And then we stick the paper to the frame. So this is how we build our first layer. This side of the fish has one layer of paper glued on. It's ready for its second layer. And with the second layer, what you're doing is you're putting glue all over the tissue you've used on your first layer. All over. And then you're ready to stick another layer on. So it's glue, paper, glue, and then you end with a layer of glue. So here I'm going to finish sticking down paper, this piece of paper. Notice that I have pre-torn the paper into pieces. It just makes it easier to work with. There we go. So there's one piece, we add another piece. And you can overlap the pieces so you get a nice strong framework. And if your pieces aren't quite the right shape, you can tear them so they fit better. And then finish gluing down the seam. Once you've got your second layer of paper on, you finish the whole process with a layer of glue. The glue dries clear and hard, so it gives a nice strong surface to work with. There is the process for that. And then I'm going to show you how to decorate it once you've completely skinned the whole frame of your fish. Okay, so now we are at the magic moment of the fish coming together. This is where we have the frame made, we have the skin put on, and we get to decorate. So the color, some bits and pieces can be added at this stage. So here's an example of a fish, basic shape. Dangly bits have been added, some cutout highlights, some little bits have been added for fins, some fun there. Have fun with the eyes. You can do all kinds of things for eyes. So here's an example of different ways that a fish can be decorated. Here's another example. Same basic shape of the fish, but they've had some fun with the the shape of the fins at the top. They've added a little body to the shape of the snout of the fish. The stripes are kind of a fun thing. You can add strips of tissue around an eye to add a little bit of definition. That's a fun thing to do. So there's another example of a fish. A variation. And here is one that is really wild and wacky, where the shape of the fish has been, it's the same basic system to create this, but you can see that the structure is quite different. He's got a big round shape, this one, and his eyes are absolutely different and fun. Mouth, great, fun stuff to add. And then the different color patterns you can add at this final stage too. So there we go, fish lanterns. Last but not least is putting your light into the fish lantern. At this point, you need an access port into the fish. You can see on this one, a cut has been made, and that's where the tea light goes in. You can reach into the fish and put the tea light in. Should be mentioning that when you're putting these layers of colored tissue on in your final stage here where you're decorating the fish, it's the same process as when you're actually building the skin on the fish. You put glue on first, you put your tissue on, and then you put glue over top of the tissue. So there you are. Fish lanterns it is.